there's sort of, yeah, it's kind of intuitive feeling when you get your heart and mind and hands and clay all come in one sort of tune, I suppose, together, and you feel immensely satisfied that you've achieved a vision, I suppose, and put it out there in the world. It's a carving, moulding process to start to get the basic shape. So you're going to get the head, you're going to get the legs, you need to get the sort of basic structure in place. And something happens in my head that transforms it into 3D, and I just think that's a gift from God. I just sort of find myself putting it into place through lots of correction. The real joy of sculpting is when you get to the point where you know you've captured it. You've got what you set out to get in terms of a likeness, a mood, an emotion, and an accuracy. I think what comes from my parental background is a love of nature and a love of detail. And I think my mother in particular taught me to look. And that observational skill was honed by my art teachers. I managed to get a studio space in a cowshed, and having done a number of different abstract things at college, I needed to buckle down and think how I could make a living, and so it fell naturally to make cows, and this was the cow that I made. This is the first cow that I made in the cowshed, and it was just done in clay, and through meeting a fellow sculptor who was already casting in bronze, it was suggested that I cast Buttercup in bronze. I enjoy the experience of the foundry because there's a tremendous buzz of talent, and it being put into play in front of your eyes, you see something transformed from your model, which you spent a tremendous amount of love and care putting into place, with all the details, and you see them transform it through 7-10 stages, and the first of those stages is to make a rubber mould. Well, I think all of the substances are amazing. This pink rubber that gets poured in is magic as well, and that gets poured into the space where the platform of clay was. It's created a space for the rubber, and then once that's set, the plaster jacket is taken apart, and then the wax is made. But it's not perfect, and it needs work on, and they ask the artist to come along and work on the wax, and that requires attention to detail where little bits need to be delicately shaved off, or little bubbles need to be filled, and that takes time, and that's the artist coming back into the equation, and once the wax is then back to the focus that it was originally modelled in, then it can be used to turn into bronze, and that is where the real magic happens, I think, to see molten metal like a volcano being poured into the space to become something permanent that is a record of your artistry. And that preparation requires what looks a bit odd. They start adding tubes of wax and a cup, all of which is going to be melted out, but you'll see the way the tubes are attached, that in itself requires skill and knowledge in terms of how metal flows. Once the runners and risers are in place and it's dipped into the grog and the ceramic material, it's barely recognisable. It looks quite strange. You've gone through these processes to get to the most exciting part of the bronze casting process, which is the pour. And the noise in the foundry is such that you can't speak to each other. So there's a magic of unspoken communication between the experts. And the crucible is heating up, and the ingots of bronze are getting ready to be put, so that they're then melted and poured into the space. And it's just like a volcano. It's just you're watching something transform from a cold metal object into something boiling and going into the space that you've created, and then it sets and you've got something unique that lasts forever, really. Once it comes out, it's not all ready. It's not ready for the shelf. Once the metal is cooled down, those runners and risers have taken up some of the metal. They need to be chopped off. It all needs to be cleaned and brushed up, and the experts in the metal workshop come into play then. And again, like with the wax, where there are holes or little flanges, it needs to be sculpted away, filled up, welded, and once you're again back into the focus of the original sculpture that you've loved and created, it's bright as a new penny. It's like a copper coin. The first mint, if you like. It's unusually bright. People don't imagine that it looks so new. New metal is bright. So the warmth and depth that comes from coloration, the patina. This is I think it's like a watercolour painting. You have a blank piece of paper and you apply colour. Here we've got new metal that requires coloration, and it's subtle. It's using different oxides to have a reaction on the surface of the sculpture. So it's heated up with a blowtorch so that you've got the temperature for the reaction to take place. The chemical composition of the bronze and the chemical composition of the patina brought together, and they react on the surface, and it needs to be applied with a gentle touch over a period of time to build up the colour and the depth into the areas which you so desire, to be warm, show the light of the metal, or blackened up with a much heavier layering of the oxidation process. My lovely studio space is down Lower Way, Thatcham, and it's by the river, by the lakes, with some other artists, and we have a great time. It is great having a studio space, and we open the studios frequently, and people come and visit. They see my work, we have a conversation, and they might say something like, "Can you do an elephant?" or "Can you do a llama?" And I just feel, really excited about the prospect of a new subject matter to delve into, and it is really exciting. Something that people love, and then bringing that into reality. It's a real joy. The rubber mould.
Oh right.
And then see that green stuff, and that green one is a wax version. As far increasingly so with customers, it's a contact. It's a great, it's a story, it's a relationship where you get to know your customer, you get to know what they want, and you're able to deliver. And there's a dialogue between the customer and yourself as an artist, bringing something about which will be loved.